Sounds great.
Great. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Extraterrestrial Materials Academy, or ETMA, informational webinar. Here, we're just going to talk a little bit about what ETMA is about and try to answer your questions and hopefully encourage you all to submit an application before the deadline, which is coming up January 16th. Okay. So ETMA, first of all, is going to be an academy rather than an internship. So the biggest difference between an internship and an academy is the fact that this is going to be heavily focused on teaching and you all learning. So there's going to be a big component where there is going to be lectures, activities, and doing in class or in laboratory training as well. And then in the second half, you're going to be applying those skills on a research project. So for an intern program, you would enter in and you would immediately start on your project. Whereas in this case, there's going to be a training, kind of like a crash course in planetary science before you get to that part. So that's the big difference between this and another internship program that is hosted by the LPI. So that's not to be confused with the two. The three main goals for this academy is that students will leave being equipped to identify career paths of interest in planetary science with analytical skills and knowledge to be competitive for future careers in planetary science, including pursuing a graduate degree relevant to planetary science, and with resources to help support your journey. So we don't want to just give you a bunch of information and then leave you out on your own. We want to help network you with folks in the community, help you get a mentor that could help you continue your career in planetary science. So this is designed for undergraduate students that do not have access to research opportunities in planetary science content. So if you have not taken a course in planetary science, if you don't consider yourself a planetary scientist, this is for you. But if you have interest in, doing so, but you don't have opportunities at your university, your college, this is especially for you because we are really gearing this towards students that are not at R1 institutes. By R1, I mean research intensive. And if you're not sure if your institute is an R1, we do provide in the FAQ on the website a way to look that up. But generally, if you just Google Institute R1, that'll pop up. So the idea is we really want to increase the number of folks that have access to get into planetary science, because we know there are a lot of universities and colleges out there where this might not be a topic that's heavily covered in the curriculum. So this will be a 10-week academy starting June 8th, going through August 14th. It will be held at the Lunar and Planetary Institute in Houston, Texas, and there will be limited spaces. So we will not be selecting a ton of folks. There's only 6 students that will be selected for this process. And as I mentioned before, this is a little bit different than a typical internship, with the first half being heavily structured towards being a crash course in planetary science. So the first 4 weeks are going to be heavily structured. We'll start off with one lecture in the morning, followed by an activity that's related to that lecture. We might have, following that, a guest come in and give a talk about NASA or about their career or about something related to planetary science. And then the second half of the day will be focused on laboratory training skills. So because laboratory training does take a long time, this will be 3-4 hour blocks at a time. And so that's the first 4 weeks. Once you've established a baseline in planetary science, you've got exposure to all the different skills we'll be using in the projects, then we will take your skills and apply them to a particular research project. There will be 2 projects. So students will be broken up into groups of 3 and will have to work on a project. And they will be able to give input as to which project they'd like to work on and what their role would be. So you get some say as to what you will be doing. This academy is funded through NASA funding. It's through the Lunar and Planetary Institute's Encompass program. But it's also being developed with our partners at University of Houston Clear Lake, Texas Southern University, and our collaborators with NASA Johnson Space Center. So let's talk about applications and eligibility. To be eligible for this academy, you must have completed at least 36 credit hours by January 16th. And that must be at an institution. It does not include AP credit, dual credit earned in high school. The reason being that we really want to target students that are already undergraduates and have had some time being an undergraduate. It is limited to US citizens or US permanent residents. And you must be enrolled at a US accredited degree granting institution at the time of application. And you or at either at the time of application or at some point in the year 2025. And you must demonstrate in your application, if you're not currently enrolled when you submit the application, that you have plans to continue your education in 2026. We understand that students may take semester-long breaks. Maybe you're not enrolled right now, but you intend to continue in the fall, for instance. And you would just have to clarify that in your application, maybe request your person who's writing you a letter of rec to also maybe mention that. That would be another great way to demonstrate your interest in continuing your plans. You can have graduated with a bachelor's degree, but you must discuss your intent to continue your education. So maybe you've already graduated with your bachelor's, but you're interested in pursuing a graduate degree, but you're not quite sure what in, and you kind of think you'd be interested in planetary science, and this would actually be a really good academy for you to help make you competitive for that application process. And you would just describe that in your application. Let's see, physical or natural sciences, if you're doing like STEM related degree, is obviously preferred, but all eligible students will be considered. So for instance, if you've got your bachelor's in English and you've started taking courses and related to math, science, that sort of thing, and you really want to go more in that direction, then once again, this would be a really good academy for you. The applications are open to all qualified undergraduates, but as I mentioned before, priority is going to be given to those at smaller, non-research intensive, i.e. non-R1 universities. So if you're at an R1, you can still apply and you will still be considered. You will just have to do a good job in your application at explaining why you haven't had access to take a planetary science course or, learn more about the field. Maybe you're at an R1 where planetary science isn't really taught, or you only have one course and you're very limited in what you can do there. As I mentioned before, you can check your institution classification by going to carnegieclassifications.acenet.edu. And that link is also provided on the FAQ of the Extraterrestrial Materials Academy website. So applications are only going to be accepted if you fill them out online. Go to the website, you'll see apply here, click it, fill it out. That's the only way we're going to accept applications. We will not accept them by mail or by email. The application does have 2 essay questions where you'll have to discuss your interests in planetary science or your career aspirations. You will have to provide at least 2 letters of recommendation, and they will need to be submitted online. I will say it's important that you get your application in before the due date, because those writing you a letter of rec won't actually get the email to fill in their letter of rec until you submit your application. So submit your application as early as possible. Although, of course, give your whoever you're requesting a letter of rec a heads up even before you submit your application. That way they have time to put it together. And then when you're ready to go, you submit that and they can quickly write it into the online form and submit. You also need to submit an official transcript from your institution. That could be mailed or it could be done electronically. And that is directions for that are also provided on the ETMA website. Remember, the application deadline is January 16th. So recommendations. I would recommend that before you're applying, you review details about what the ETMA is. We have on the website an overview of what's going to be covered in the curriculum, so specific topics, what labs are going to be covered, and what skills you're going to be learning. And that's going to be important to reflect upon when you're writing your essay question. You can also review the rubric that we've developed, where how we are going to select you. So you can tailor your essay questions based on that as well. That's also provided on the website. As I mentioned before, try to request your letters of recommendation early because folks always need time. And you must submit your application before they can input their recommendation. So keep that in mind. So funding, if you are selected, you will receive a stipend in total of $8,876. You will also receive $1,000 to cover your travel to and from Houston, and housing will be paid for by so is a value of $3,475. You don't have to worry about this. This will be paid for by the program. We're just telling you the value. So you'll be staying at housing, I think that's on the next slide, University Forest Apartments, which is about a 15-20 minute walk from LPI and UHCL, which is where the majority of your time will be spent. It's actually a lot closer to UHCL than LPI, so maybe like a 5-minute walk to the labs. And as I mentioned before, housing is totally covered by the LPI. You don't have to worry about it. You will have your own private bathroom per student, and you will have access to a community pool as well. So application deadline is January 16th. We will be notifying participants of their selection in March. And as I mentioned before, the academy begins June 8th, goes through August 14th, or with a planned travel to return home August 15th. And at that point, I'm happy to take any questions you all may have.
So there was one question that's been answered in the chat. But I thought maybe it would be good for the video to go ahead and repeat that. And that was a question about if someone could mail the official transcripts themselves. And I don't know whether Claudia or Laura, whether one of you would, who of you would like to answer that out loud for the video?
I'll give it to Claudia.
Thank you, Laura. Unfortunately, we do not accept transcripts directly from the applicant. We encourage the applicant to contact the university registrar's office and coordinate with them to send us the electronic official transcript. And I've entered the email address, the etma@lpi.usra.edu. If you could send that to us, that would be great. And you will get a confirmation from me saying that it was accepted, or if other materials missing from your application. Thank you, Laura. Back to you.
So for all of you who are with us, what other questions can you think of that you'd like to ask about either the academy or the application process? Now is your time. You're welcome to put them into the chat or into the Q&A. And while people are thinking of that, Claudia, do you have any other recommendations you'd like to make on top of the ones that have already been shared?
Yes, one of the questions that have been coming through is inquiries regarding housing, and we've already touched on that. Students will be housed at University Forest Apartments, and also transportation. I've had a few questions regarding, do they need transportation? And I encourage applicants, if you are local, for you to drive. It would be very helpful. And of course, the Houston heat is terrible, but it's, you know, it's within walking distance. So I encourage for folks to drive their own personal vehicle. And I'm going to enter that information in the chat. And a lot of questions regarding, is this a full-time committed academy? And the answer is yes. It is Monday through Friday, and it is typically 40 hours a week. Thank you, Christine. Back to you.
Thank you. Laura, there's a quick question about their letters of recommendations. Can one of them be from an academic advisor?
Absolutely. That's a perfect example of someone who can provide a letter of recommendation. They say the better somebody, you know, an academic advisor, a former professor, somebody that really knows your academic history and or career aspirations, the better they know, the better letter that they can provide. But it's not limited to just somebody that's affiliated with the university or college. You could provide a letter of rec from potentially a former teacher at a, you know, a school, high school, for instance, before you went to, if you've kept in touch, especially if they've like remained a mentor. A job manager, for instance, that could speak to your skills as to how you work with groups, your ability to learn quickly, be on your feet, be dedicated, that sort of thing. Religious community leader that could also speak on about on that behalf as well. So not all of them have to be related to academia if they can speak to other skills that are also important for the success in this academy.
Thank you. We've got a couple more questions that have come up. The first one, how long do the letters of recommendation have to be?
Claudia, is there a word limit? I don't think they don't have to be a particular length.
No, there's not a word limit. We ask for the recommenders that when they receive the link, for them to click on the link and type in the recommendation. You cannot upload a PDF file or anything like that.
So they enter it live.
Generally, letters are maybe a page, sometimes half to 3/4 of a page. Definitely no more than 2 pages. That would be on the long side.
Correct.
And then is there a recommended age range?
As long as you're eligible, you can apply. That's not really a consideration here. Because we are requiring that your credits be affiliated with a community college or university of some sort and not from dual credit or AP. That's our way of trying to make sure folks are in the same realm of life, relatively speaking, but there's no particular age limit.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any further questions? Dr. Rodriguez, do you have any other recommendations that you might want to emphasize or add?
Yeah, I'd say this is since this is the first year of this academy, there are, I would say, probably not as many people as you would think applying. And so I would highly encourage you, if if you're concerned about getting dwarfed by all these applications, come apply. And if you don't get selected, you'll have a template to apply for again next year. And I really, really would encourage you to just reach out if you have any questions and to get your applications in and to try your best.
Thank you so much. We're delighted to have all of you with us. Thank you for joining us for today. And you know how to reach us if you have any further questions. Thank you so much for your interest in the ETMA.